Whether it's your first car or your 10th, there's a good chance you'll want to make it your own by modifying it. Today, I'll be going over the best and worst car mods you can do to a new car or a new to you car. And just as a little preface before I dive into the first mod, remember most car mods are based on taste. And that's essentially how you want them to look, feel, handle, whatever. So all of this is like subjective. So the first mod we're going to talk about here are straight pipes or muffler deletes. Now here's a clip of my car, and this has a muffler delete on it. And so the fundamental differences between a straight pipe and a muffler delete is that a straight pipe won't have anything in the exhaust. So no catalytic converters, no mufflers, no resonators, everything like that, everything's gone. And so what a muffler delete is just chopping off the mufflers at the very end of the exhaust system and either welding some pipe in there, or some companies sell aftermarket sections. They're called axle back exhausts that take that spot up. Now this will vary car to car. Some cars will sound great with just a muffler delete. Take the 5.0 Mustang. Just with the muffler delete, they sound amazing. Maybe a resonator delete too. Other cars like clapped Civics will make you want to plug your ears. That was horrible when I first watched it. Being loud isn't the only side effects of this mod. Depending on what car, you get some really bad drone inside the cabin, especially at highway speeds, making these mods miserable for daily driving. So what I'm going to say for this one is do your research. See if your platform sounds any good with just a muffler delete or a straight pipe.
And if not, don't get one. Just save up your money for a nice exhaust system that you actually enjoy the sound of.
Second car mod I really want to talk about today is actually lowering springs. So what I see more and more often is a lot of people will start lowering their car pretty quickly after they get it. So you basically got three main options when it comes to lowering your car, and one of which I would suggest never doing. Let's start with that one. Cutting your coils or cutting your springs. Horrible. Don't do it. I know some people have done it. I just makes your ride like shit. It makes it super stiff. Don't do it. I've never tried it. I can only regurgitate what everyone else has told me. It's just like a horrible idea. You'll blow your shocks, whatever. Second of which being lowering springs. So the issue with lowering springs is that to achieve that 1 to 2 inch drop most people are looking for, you have to change something about the spring. It either has to be shorter or have a different spring rate. And the issue with that is that your shocks aren't designed for this new spring rate or new length of spring that you've installed. And so what you'll get a lot of the time is that people start experiencing blown shocks or earlier suspension wear. And so on top of these faster wear characteristics, you actually also have to do more work to install them compared to coilovers, because with coilovers, of course, you're just replacing the entire strut. But with lowering springs, you have to take that same strut out and then actually open up the strut with spring compressors, which is this whole sketchy process, right? And then you have to replace that spring and put them back in the car. So it actually ends up taking longer to put lowering springs in your car versus coilovers. Now, would I say coilovers are worth it over lowering springs? Yes, they are definitely worth the money if you have them. But if you're on a budget, lowering springs can accomplish a similar result at the cost of maybe a slightly stiffer ride and faster wear on your suspension components. Burble tunes. Do not get a burble tune. These are horrible for your car. Now, before I explain why, I'll just go into some terminology. And so what burble tunes create are actually afterfires, not backfires. Backfire is actually a term used when combustion takes place in the intake tract. And afterfires are the opposite. It's when combustion takes place in the exhaust tube. So burble tunes basically just have a bunch of afterfires, and they accomplish this by just, extra fuel in the exhaust when it's not supposed to be there. And so what you'll get is combustion in the exhaust tube. And what's in your exhaust tube? Well, if you have a turbo car, your turbo gets spooled by exhaust gases. So your turbo is going to be facing the pressure of these backfires, as well as your O2 sensor and your cats. So what happens over time is that you can damage your turbo if you have one. Your O2 sensor actually gets clogged from all the carbon deposits because of combustion. And then your cats can also get blown or clogged, which will cause you to not pass emissions. And cats are very expensive. I thought they weren't that bad, like blah, 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 a couple, 100. No, they're in the thousands. Right? Well, it makes sense. How many people are stealing catalytic converters right now? They are expensive. You do not want to be replacing cats just because you have a burble tune. If your car already, does pops and bangs from the factory like that, it is what it is. If you can tune it out, good. If you can't, some cars just do it. But if you're adding them on purpose for the point of like grabbing attention, it's not a good idea. Next, I'm gonna go into just some cosmetic mods I would not suggest doing. These just make you look like a clown. What can I say? So, claw marks, like the Wolverine claw marks, man. Stop doing that shit. That's so goofy. You actually look like a child when you have that on your car. And if someone has that on their car, I can never take them seriously. I just can't. I like whatever type of person does that to their car, I cannot take them seriously. Second one, camber. Okay, some camber is okay, but excessive camber, why? Why? You're destroying the car. I know some people like the look and whatever. Do, like, once again, as I said, do whatever you like with your car, right? It's your car. What am I gonna do? But excessive camber, you'll chew through tires faster. I would say if you want to just go like live the low life like that, go with bags, right? Bags, you can go all the way to the fucking ground if you like. Scrape as much as you want. I just don't see it. It's not practical. Excessive camber, I don't think it looks good. Fucks with your tires, fucks with your suspension geometry, all that. Some camber is okay. I know they put some camber on like race cars because when you take turns, more weight gets shifted to the outside tires. Creates a better contact patch if you got a little bit of camber. The last one being up badging. This is just like the stupidest shit. Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to get out of up badging your car? Some extra clout? Because all you really get is getting clowned on in reality. Because most people, if they're a somewhat competent car person, right, they'll see straight through it. Right? No one thinks your 330i is an M3. It's already bad enough that some people like up badge their car when they make it, as fast as one or whatever. Right? I see this with WRX people a lot. And this hurts me because I have a WRX, right? WRX people, they'll be like, oh, I'm just as fast as an STI. And they go throw an STI wing and STI badging on it. That's not the point. The point is the person that bought an STI has an EJ. The person that bought a BRX has an FA. And the STI dude has, a wing from stock and center diff controls and a bunch of extra stuff. Like, they're just up badging for clout. It's stupid. And so after going over all these stupid fucking car mods, you may wonder, what are some good car mods? Well, I have the solution. I have the answers. One of the best car mods you can do is actually just a tune. And so there's two routes you can go with tunes. You can get a pro tune. A pro tune is when you go to a dyno, you order a certain time slot. It's typically around $1,000, and they put it on a dyno, they dyno it, and then tune it right in front of your eyes, essentially. eTune's a little different. eTune, you email your tuner, so you'll have a program or a device essentially, either like a JB4, access port. Those are the two I'm most familiar with. You'll have one of those, and you send over logs of your car doing pulls, and they'll refine the car. And then the best thing about an eTune is that, so let's say you just have an intake on it, and then you say, hey, I actually want to put bigger injectors in the car for whatever reason. Or actually, I put a boost controller in the car or whatever. Your tuner can tune for that, right? It kind of sucks when you have a pro tune done, right? And then you put, $300 mod on the car, and you're like, shit, I got to get it tuned again. The tune is more than the mod you just installed, right? It kind of sucks. Another great mod you can do, especially for bang for your buck, is E85. If your motor can handle a good bit of extra power, like B58s, you throw E85 in there, and you could be getting anywhere from like 50 to 100 extra horsepower. Just like that. I will warn though, do not get like the generic E30, E60 tunes, because those are really hard to actually control. And what I mean by that is, you don't know what you're actually pumping into your car most of the time. 85, if you read the label on the pump, it actually ranges from like, I think it's like 67 or 61% to 85% ethanol. So it's actually not 85% ethanol all the time. So if you do get these generic tunes, you're going to have to end up, at the pumps, you're going to have to fill up these ethanol test kits, see how much it is, and pull out a calculator and do whatever. And by the time you're done fueling up, it's been half an hour and you used all the fucking ink in your pen or whatever, right? Instead, just get a Flex Fuel Tune. And essentially what a Flex Fuel Tune is, it has an ethanol sensor built in, I mean, you put an ethanol sensor in line of the fuel lines, and it will read the ethanol as it's entering the motor. So your car's ECU actually knows what percent ethanol is entering the motor, and it can automatically adjust for it. And so you're always happy because it doesn't matter if you pump E85 in or if it's E60 or if you're running just on 93, it will always run correctly. And that's the best part about the Flex Fuel. Next good mod I could suggest are shifting mods. Now shifting mods, usually pretty cheap, right? Couple $100, pretty cheap mods. You don't need a tune for them either. Unless you have like a DCT or something, or PDKs. I don't know how those exactly work, but I understand there's transmission tunes you can get into those cars. But what I do know is that on stick shift cars, getting a nice short throw shifter is a huge difference, right? Going from like a 4-inch throw gear to gear to like a 2-inch throw is great, especially if you're making a good bit of power. It really helps you shift through the gears quicker, and it gives the shifter like a nicer quality feeling. And considering that, you know, in a manual car, you got your pedals, your steering wheel, and the shifter. It's like 1/3 of the entire experience of driving the car. So it's pretty big. And I guess for PDKs, you can get like snappy flappy pedals or whatever they're called. You can just get like some modification for those that make them like feel nicer, essentially. I'll tie these two together because they kind of same aspect. Tires are big, and then brake pads as well. Good tires will give you better grip, especially in like rear wheel drive cars. And then even with all wheel drive cars, or any car actually, you get better cornering. And then tied in with that are brake pads, because tires actually, you know, impact your braking, because if you don't have enough grip, you can't brake that well. And that is all from me, guys, today. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's kind of a new style of video I'm trying, kind of a longer type monologue. So I'd appreciate any feedback you guys could leave in the comments. You guys have a good one.